the consensus seems to be this one was a really, really boring episode and almost nothing happened. I'm a little more generous. We do get a few more details. Apparently, the TVA agents have been manipulated or are being manipulated, so they're not acting of full free will. We do get an interesting kind of paradox. They do have somewhat free will, but they, I guess, space lizards are not telling them the whole truth. So there is some conditioning going on with the TVA. So that's fascinating. We also get now canonical that Loki is bisexual, and that's already in the comics. So they're kind of getting to something that was already in the character. All right, that's fascinating, I guess. And I want to be consistent because I've been really chiding the MCU for not really doing much with the comics and really not making use of them. So it's small, but they are making use of the comics to some extent. So I've got to award them some points for that. But onto the story itself, yeah, it was fairly just ho hum. Lady Loki and Loki talk a little bit, reveal a few things, but nothing major. And again, this is the third episode. We do get a few more action scenes, so people are complaining there's no action. They do give us some action scenes. They don't quite make any sense. I'm still wondering what are the extent of the powers of the TVA agents. Like, why aren't they just able to freeze Loki or Lady Loki with time? They were able to do make them super slow before, so why don't they just do that and capture them again? So yeah, a lot of question marks in terms of, is the TVA letting them go or are they manipulating them? Again, unclear. And in terms of the substance of the plot, as some people pointed out, now I have not seen Snowpiercer, so I can't verify this, but apparently they are lifting elements from Snowpiercer, as well as other places too. So it's really just ripping off other television and film shows and things like that. So it's sort of like, it's not very creative either. And if you want to be nitpicking, the way Loki's acting is also not technically cohesive, because he's like, yes, I'm very hedonistic, that's who I am. No, that's a different god. That's technically speaking, that's a different god. So yes, Loki is hedonistic to some extent, but that doesn't define him as a character. So it's just not very much. It's not terrible, it's not destroying the character, it's not destroying the MCU, so all that is much of hype, but it's just treading water. And I'm debating with myself if 6.5 is too harsh, because it makes it sound like it's barely competent. But yeah, it's not getting a lot better, that's for sure. It's not much worse. I mean, this is still better than Endgame, like where, for instance, the Hulk had character development that took 10 years in the comics that was summed up in 3 seconds. So it's nothing as crazy as that. So it's nothing as bad as Endgame or anything like that, but it is better. But again, this is the third episode. I think we expected a lot more, either in terms of revelations and or action, and that has not yet occurred. So this is still good stuff is occurring. I did like the banter back and forth. It's amusing, it's interesting. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what the big payoff is, because we had some good rapport between Mobius and Loki. That was building up to something. That was interesting and nice, and then they just cut that off, and now we're concentrating on Lady Loki. But why? I mean, it's an interesting thing intertextually that Tom and her know one another in real life. Okay, that's interesting. She's not untalented, she's a good actress, but still kind of wondering, like, what's the big deal? What is the payoff here? Where are we going with this? What is the show trying to say? If it's just trying to be amusing for amusement's sake, that's fine. I have no issue with that, but I guess I was hoping for a little bit more depth or something more innovative. And this is still much stronger than Winter Soldier or WandaVision, but that's kind of low-hanging fruit. This one is the one series I was really hoping would be really interesting or special. And we are getting some good stuff, but yeah, this is just kind of an episode you really could just skip entirely, and probably next episode is gonna, fill us in what they said this episode. So yeah, it's fairly weak stuff. But it looks good, the stunts were well done, costumes look great, performances are good, but yeah, it's fairly superficial. So 6.5, I am recommending it, but it's a much weaker recommendation. This is one episode you could probably skip over entirely and get some of the still shots. Those are probably more amusing or more interesting than what happens in the episode itself. I wish I could be nicer, but 6.5. I am recommending it, but it's a very weak recommendation for Loki episode 3. Thanks for listening.